You work for an agency?
Catering company, I guess you'd call it.
They just send you to places like this, huh?
Pretty much. It's a full experience.
You're not even cooking until next week.
Well, I gotta get here and find the produce, you know, make sure everything's tip-top. I just do the gig and I'll leave.
Hi, I say Nick and Nicholas, right? So I don't mix you up, yeah? Perfect.
easy.
Listen, so first of all, thanks very much for your time and congratulations on the movie. It's fantastic. I loved it. Really kind of anxiety-inducing, especially that last 30 minutes or so around the table was just fantastic. So congratulations on that, and also congratulations on the total film best gross out at London Film Fest, where they won the award for the tongue scene, the most gross out moment at the festival. Yeah.
Nice. Very cool.
So listen, so first thing, Nicholas, I know you wrote this narrative about 6 years ago or so, and you were kind of you were trying to get funding for it, and then I think eventually you just got fed up of it and you decided to go your own route. Now, please tell me that you didn't stick to kind of like the script narrative to make some fast money.
Oh, what do you mean? Oh, do you mean like I didn't do unspeakable things to get the money?
Exactly, yeah.
No, I just reached out to some people I knew in Australia and asked them if they'd loan me some money. Yeah, so basically I had written this script in like 2019 and I was trying to get it going and it wasn't happening. And so then I reached out, my wife and I reached out to some people we knew in Australia and we sort of had this whole pitch. It took some time and we got a little bit of money and then we put a little bit of money in and we were able to shoot in and then the pandemic hit, you know, and then we were just so lucky there was a drop in the in COVID in Colombia all of a sudden where we shot the film and we had this little window to shoot in the fall of 2021 and so we went and did it.
Brilliant, yeah. And then for you, Nick, I mean, obviously the script itself must have really resonated with you, but I imagine at the same time it must have felt like, right, this is time for me to get paid back for what happened to me in Hunter x Hunter at the end, no?
True. Yeah, that's an interesting angle. Yeah.
So you didn't think that, no?
Yeah, that was pretty gruesome. That probably would have, beat the gross out award. I think that would have
by a mile. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
If it was up against this one. Yeah.
But no, what was it about the actual script that kind of you wanted to do this one? Was it kind of the story of this guy in the circumstances, or was it more kind of the moralistic tale that Nicholas had created?
Yeah, it was just a great story. I mean, it was a really well written script. I mean, Nick did a great job with it. Yeah, I mean, it was just it reminded me of like a new Hitchcock type film. It had some really cool sort of like class undertones as well. It had like a really, really interesting theme throughout and just really responded to the character as well of Ryan,
Mm-hmm. I mean, but what was it specifically, Nicholas, that was kind of it feels like that you were really livid with something specifically when you wrote this film, like you were really up in arms about something, not specifically.
It's climate change. It's about climate change. That's what it's really about. I couldn't believe that. I mean, if I'm just being completely transparent, it was during the Trump years and I was just like, and I was just reading about climate change and I was just seeing how everyone was just, the powerful in the Western world were just like, we don't care because we're making money. Basically, oil companies, great. I just was just like, this is crazy. It just seemed like profit and greed was the most important thing in the world. And I felt like it's like, well, everyone's like, the house is burning and everyone's worrying about the details of the house. It's like, bro, the house is burning, So I don't know. It was a feeling of, which is probably why the film ends the way it does too, to be honest. I mean, without giving a spoiler away, the film doesn't end maybe as you'd think. And I felt like we didn't need an ending like that. I felt like the ending that we have in the movie was kind of what I wanted to say. It was like, no, this is what I want to say.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant.
It's just about, basically it's about greed, that's what I was thinking about when I was writing.
Yeah, no, it definitely kind of gives that the idea of kind of the ills that greed breeds, basically, and all the way through. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was kind of looking online. You can find all kinds of weird stuff on online. So there was a story about 10 years or so ago that an artist, he believed that he was asexual, so he decided to get his private parts removed surgically. And then on Twitter, he posted literally, I've got it written down somewhere here. Please retweet. I'm offering my male genitals, full penis, testes, and scrotum as a meal for 100,000 yen. Will prepare and cook as the buyer requests at his chosen location. And I was like, and he got away with it. And there's actually photos. I won't show you any photos, but there's actually photos of him serving up his business to 5 diners. So I was just kind of, that kind of just got me curious as to how you kind of got the ideas. I don't want to give too much away, obviously, but how you got the kind of ideas of what kind of menu would suit the kind of meat that you're serving in this film, because it can't have been easy. But and I imagine there's some kind of in jokes that maybe I didn't get there about kind of culinary things that I'm maybe not aware of.
No, I mean, I don't want to, again, I think we're probably moving into spoiler territory, but
Yeah.
I think we've already gone there. So, but I think it was about realizing what I was going to write about. I was like, okay, so I just started Googling, certainly if I was arrested, the cops would be like, well, you're pretty, what have you been doing?
We got a sick one here.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, so I just started Googling, I just because like basically, just in terms of that thing you mentioned. I mean, I've often thought if you can think it, someone's doing it. That's how I just
Someone's
think
doing
that's
something far worse than that. Yeah.
yeah, and I think also when you're dealing with people like in this film, which is we're talking about people that are very, very wealthy, and frequently the people that are very, very, very wealthy, like uber rich, um, are there's not much left for them to do, and so novelty becomes a big deal, right? And so novelty becomes a currency that they're really interested in sort of engaging in. Also, and they need to keep upping the ante as well. And so it was kind of like those thoughts that I was thinking about.
Mm-hmm. And then Nick, I mean, talking about Nick, I mean, obviously you became famous quite young, so I imagine you got into money quite young as well. Were there things that you could kind of relate to that you wanted to bring to the script specifically at all?
Sure. I mean, yeah. I mean that's interesting actually. Like, I did make a lot of money pretty young, and definitely experienced that thing of maybe not being thoroughly happy and content, even though I've kind of acquired a lot of the things that I thought I wanted. I definitely went through that period. And then, conversely, much later, experienced a lot more peace of mind when I had a lot less. So I guess that could definitely parallel Ryan's experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also, I'm curious. We can't not talk about the antagonist in the film, who is absolutely fantastic. I'm curious why you cast Tamsin Topolsky, a Brit, in the main baddie's role. I'm just asking for a friend.
She was always British. The character was always British,
Yeah.
And I mean, first of all, I'm Australian, number one, right? I live in America. I've been in America for 20 years, so I feel I'm an American. I'm also an American citizen. And I feel American on some level, but on another level, I don't. I'm still an Australian. I grew up there, and I also like the idea that when Ryan comes into this event, this location, that he's engaging with a whole bunch of international people, because I felt like that made it feel more serious and more global and more elevated. And I don't know, it felt less comfortable for him, because I think if he was coming into with a bunch of Americans, there might be a sort of cultural thing that he could lean into. Whereas Ryan comes in and excluding the friend that he's initially meets there's nobody who is American, right? So he is completely his own island, And I was born in London, and I have a kind of more of a British sensibility than an Australian sensibility, probably, I think. And so the character of Tamsin just came out of me, British. She just was like Imogen. It just was she just had to be British, And then when we were doing the casting for her, we did like open casting, and people sent in tapes, and Tamlin was just ferocious, you know. She just was like, she's just playing it so real, and so she was also playing it without playing it like a villain, which I thought was super
Yeah, that's
powerful.
what I
She's
thought
just
was
playing it like
great.
a rational, normal, capable person, which was exactly how I saw the character. Lots of other people were playing her really villainous, you know, and I felt like it's way more effective. She's really just a pragmatic person. It becomes more chilling, you know.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a really great kind of antagonist, and I remember it reminded me kind of like some of the best ones, like Hans Gruber from Die Hard. He's very kind of organized, and if something goes wrong, he's completely calm and gets it sorted out, and he says a couple of words and gets everyone back into action, and it kind of moves along. It's just like the perfect antagonist. Yes, it was the perfect choice, definitely. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and also I think it's she's actually halfway through the film. We kind of align ourselves with her as well
Yeah.
because we understand her and we understand the stakes. And then when the sort of the dinner starts happening, we actually end up kind of in her shoes a little bit, which is hopefully that's a bit of fun because suddenly we're sort of she's not a villain as much, but she is, as you say, a force of antagonism, and so we're kind of aligning with her as well. Um, Hopefully that's a bit of
Yeah.
fun. You know?
And in the same line, I mean, imagine maybe it just happenstance, but was it your intention to have the men in the kitchen and the woman giving the orders? Was that just came about, or was it kind of something
I think it's
intentional
just the
there?
nature of the characters that were set up, and then
Yeah.
you know Nick is the chef, and that's where Ryan's going to be in the kitchen, and Tamsin's running the show. You know,
Mhm. Could you ever did you ever imagine, or could you ever imagine it with the roles reversed? Maybe.
sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, always, but I guess it's I think that with writing, it sort of tends to, well, at least with me, it tends to be sort of I have a compulsion to write in a certain way. It's not like I'm not like looking at it objectively, like, oh, it could be, it's more like this inner thing of like, it's going to be this and it's going to be that. And so maybe, I don't know, that's just how it was written, you know.
Something else I'm curious about is when I finished the film, I felt like I'd seen something really gruesome and visceral, but in reality, we really don't see a lot of that stuff. Was that always your intention, or did you initially want to kind of show some to really kind of, because a lot of people like to see that, or was it always your intention to kind of steer away from that and kind of get the imagination running a lot more so than that's what we see on the screen?
I wanted the violence to be very, very graphic and very brief. That was always the
Right.
intention. So you see something graphically and brief, and frequently we'll go to a close up of something and then a wide shot of the consequence of it, and then we cut out. And that was always the idea. So you're sort of the message is delivered, but it just and it kind of echoes more than we linger in it. You know, that was the idea.
Yeah. And I need to talk a little bit about the music, because I read, I don't know if this is true, but I presume so. On IMDb, it says that for the music, you didn't actually collaborate with them in person. That was all via email to create the
Yeah.
score. I'm curious how on earth you managed to make that work so well.
Oh, it's great. I mean, so we met online in a Zoom like this. We talked about the film. They'd seen the film. We discussed it, and I had a whole bunch of temp tracks, you know, running through my edit, the offline, and then and then Tracy and Jeff put together three different cues, and they were like, these are the three different cues that we're feeling like could be for this one particular scene. And one of them was just great, like really felt like correct to me. And I said, I think this is the one I like the most. And I gave some notes about how we could maybe change that cue a bit. And they did that, and that worked. And I was like, well, this is terrific. And I was actually on vacation with my family, and they just kept sending me cues, and I would just send back notes, and we just basically they would send me cues, I'd send notes, they'd send it back, I'd send notes until we got it right, and then we'd move on to the next one, and that took like about a month.
And in line with that, Nick, I mean, obviously, when you're working with a film, you don't have more, in most times, you don't get this luxury of being able to work with the soundtrack, no? So how do you approach that? I mean, obviously, when you're acting, a lot of actors I've interviewed said that they really hate kind of seeing playbacks of stuff that's not got the music over the top, because that's really kind of, it really kind of improves their performance in so many ways. So how do you kind of prepare yourself for a scene that you haven't listened to the music, or you don't know what the music's going to be like? Do you listen to something beforehand to kind of get you in the mood, or do you speak to Nicholas, for example, to kind of know
Yeah.
exactly what's kind of going to be going on in the cinema when they're seeing you acting?
Yeah, I mean, I think the story is pretty tense and suspenseful and scary. You know, without much music actually, and I'm not a guy who really listens to. I know certain actors sometimes will, you know, have some headphones in their ears or something, and I've never done that. Yeah, I mean, this you know, for me and for the character, I mean, I just feel like being in this house and you know, it kind of it contained the entire mood and all of the suspense and you know, like inspiration that I needed to you know, to work. So yeah, if
Brilliant.
that
Well, listen,
answers your question.
no, no, absolutely, yeah. But give me the wrap. So listen, thank you so much for your time. Hopefully we can get to speak to each other eating a meal at a table or something like that next time. And I hope to speak to you again sometime soon. All the very best with the film.
Thanks,
Cool.
Howard.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks for speaking. Take care of yourself, guys. Cheers now.
I'm telling you, if you need a sous chef,
Jack.
I'm a good one. All right?